Section 7.4 is titled Find Percent of a Number Mentally. And I think that a lot of you will like this because some of you can do this already, a lot of this on your own. So first we want to use a fraction to compute mentally. So 75% of 24. The first thing you want to think of is what is 75% as a fraction? And you know that 75% is equal to 3/4. So 75% of 24 would be the same thing as saying 3/4 of 24. Now to find 3/4 of a number, we can multiply the two together. So we do 3 over 4 times 24, and if we cross cancel, 3 times 6 is 18. So 75% of 24 would be 18. Number 2, we have 80% of 60. So we want to think 80% of 60. What is 80% in a fraction? And if you think 80 over 100 and you start reducing that down, hopefully you get to 4/5. So we want 4/5 of the number 60. Well, 4/5 of 60, we could do some cross canceling. Whoops, that should be multiplication. Cross canceling would be 4 times 12, or 48. So again, when you're using a fraction, change the percent to a fraction and then multiply by that number. If you'd like to pause the video and try these next two on your own. 40% of 50, 40% in a fraction would be 2 over 5. So then we want to multiply that times 50. We can cross cancel here and get 2 times 10, or 20. Number 4, 30% of 70 would be equal to 3/10. That's what 30% is in a fraction. Think 30 over 100. Then we divide by 10 to get 3/10. So 3/10 of 70, if we cross cancel here, we end up with 3 times 7, excuse me, which is 21. So 21 would be 30% of 70. Now we've used a fraction to compute mentally. Let's use decimals. This is a lot easier when the percentages are in multiples of 10. So 1%, 10%, these are very easy to do. So 10%, remember as a decimal, so 10% of 76. Remember that 10% is 0.1. So we would be multiplying that by 76, and when you multiply a number by 0.1, essentially you're moving the decimal place 1 unit to the left, so that would be 7.6. Number 6, we have 1% of 122. So that's like taking 0.01, that's what 1% is as a decimal, times 122. We're moving the decimal place 2 places to the left, so we get 1.22. You want to pause the video here and try 7 and 8 on your own. So 10% of 42, remember it's like multiplying by 0.1 or moving the decimal place 1 unit to the left, so it would be 4.2. On number 8, multiplying 1% times 264, that's like multiplying by 0.01 or moving the decimal place 2 places to the left, so 2.64. And for the last examples, we want to estimate. So 26% of 64. We could use a calculator, but let's say we didn't have one available. So we're trying to estimate or get close. We know that 26% is about 25%. We do know that 25% is 1/4. So we want to take 1/4 of 64. Well, 64 divided by 4 is 16. So 26% of 64 is about 16. Remember, these are estimates. On number 10, we have 120% of 51. And because this is such a large percent, 120%, we're actually going to split this up into two separate problems. So we know that 51 is close to 50. So if we do 100% of 50, that would equal 50. 20% of 50, think about what 20% is in a fraction. 20% is like saying 1/5, and 1/5 of 50 is 10. So if we add 50 plus 10 together, we get 60. So our estimate, 120% of 51, is about 60. So when the percentage is very close to one we know as a fraction, we're going to multiply the fraction times the number. When the percent is very large, we can split it up into two separate problems and solve it that way. Number 11 and 12, if you want to pause the video and try these two on your own. 92% is about 90%. We know that 90% is the same as saying 9/10. So if you take 9/10 of 50, remember we can cross cancel here, we get 9 times 5, which is about 45. Well, 9 times 5 is 45, but the answer is an estimate. So 92% of 50 is about 45. And finally on number 12, we have 75% of 84. So remember that 75% is the same as 3/4. And if we do 3/4 of 84, you might have to do, we do some cross canceling here. We know that 4 goes into 84, hopefully 21 times, you're thinking. 4 goes into 8 twice, 4 goes into 4 once. And then 3 times 21 is 63. So this one isn't even really an estimate. This one should be exact. You could possibly take 84 down to 80, but that's kind of estimating a little far. You could also round 84 up to 85, but if you did that, 3/4 times 85, that's a little bit harder to do mentally. In class, we'll practice this some more with worksheet 7-4.